Hi people, welcome to my channel wherein I always try to inform you if a book is clean or not. In this day and age, there's some different definitions for whether a book is clean. I'm going to be giving you recommendations for clean books for me, but I'm also going to tell you if they have any swearing, any gore, any violence, any sex, any passionate kissing, because I know like there's different levels that people like in books, so I'll give you complete trigger warnings for these books. So if I don't say anything about it, just assume that it's perfectly clean. But today we're going to give you some YA recommendations. This is the first video I think is going to be a series of videos where I'll give you YA recommendations, and then I have adult book recommendations, middle grade, and elementary school recommendations. I'm probably going to talk about ones that like everyone knows first, like the more popular ones. Interspersed within there, I'll give you some more niche books that I know or have been recommended to me by other people. So for me, the YA genre is for people between ages of like 13 to 18, maybe 19, depending on your reading level and your tastes and how mature you are as a person. So I personally aged into YA when I was probably technically in middle grade. So I was reading YA series when I was like probably 13, which is like on the lower end of the YA genre, because middle grade is from like 10-ish, 10 to 15. There's kind of like a melding of genres from elementary to middle grade to YA, so it's kind of hard. But anyway, they're not supposed to have swearing, sex, nudity, more adult topics. I'm going to try to keep this very, very clean, very minimal stuff, but I'm also going to include books that most people say are clean, because some people just say clean is when there's no sex in a book. So I'll include those ones. Some of them do have some swearing on this list, but I'll let you know, as I said. Okay, the first genre we're going to talk about is the fantasy genre. I'll put some timestamps in the description if you want just like specific genres. I'm kind of dividing this between fantasy, general fiction, and romance, I think. And in general fiction, I have some like classics, some books that could probably go in either fantasy or romance, but I just have them done that way because I didn't really care enough to move thrillers out of the general fiction or wherever I ended up putting them in. The first author that I have is Brandon Sanderson. You've probably heard of Brandon Sanderson. He is, if not the most famous fantasy author that I've heard of, he is up there with famous fantasy authors. And unlike like Robert Jordan with The Wheel of Time, his books are clean for the most part. His more recent stuff, like 2023 and beyond, is less clean, but I can very safely say that most of his stuff is completely clean. The ones that I'll give you that are a little bit less clean are The Frugal Wizard's Guide for Surviving Medieval England. That's one of his, what are they called? The Secret Projects. That's one of the secret projects. Kind of the secret projects is actually kind of the tipping point. From like there forward, there are more swearing and honestly nudity in some of his books. So just be aware. The Frugal Wizard's Guide for Surviving Medieval England, it's not clean. That one has swearing, gore, and action. Quite a lot of swearing actually. The Wax and Wayne series is the second Mistborn series. The first Mistborn series I'd say is pretty clean. That one does have some references to sex, and that one is one of his more violent series. Violent as in like it describes blood and stuff like that. His other series doesn't do that quite as much. Anyway, the Wax and Wayne series is the second series of Mistborn, and that one is a lot more heavy on like the crude jokes. I think there's a little bit more swearing in there. It has some more gore. They're still really tame, but if you don't like any of that stuff, I'd say stay away from the second Mistborn series. Warbreaker does have some gore, direct references to sex, nudity. It's a little bit less tame than most of his books, and that one is one of his early books, so just to let you know. The Stormlight series is his big gigantic fantasy epic series, so they're like thick chonkers, 1,000 pages plus on all of them. They are still really tame when it comes to like epic fantasy. A lot of other books that I've read are a lot more gory and they're less mature. Like the Throne of Glass series, everyone is like, that one's clean. Not clean. Throne of Glass isn't clean according to my levels of clean. It does have swearing. I guess it doesn't have, as far as I've read, it doesn't have explicit sex in the book, but it does have mentions of sex, which I know people don't like, and of like the main characters doing it. So just saying, for Throne of Glass, I just totally got off topic. Stormlight series, that one is honestly, I'd say more tame than that. It does have some swearing in like the later books, as I told you, so like the fourth and fifth book has some swearing in it, but I'd say the first three books are pretty tame. Those ones are definitely more adult books anyway, but I know a lot of YA people do read the Stormlight series. So in general, newer Brandon books less clean, older ones are more clean. I would recommend Elantris, Arithmetist, the Reckoner series. Brandon Sanderson most of the time is pretty clean. All right, the next one I have is Jeff Wheeler. A lot of people actually haven't heard of this one. He's apparently a New York Times bestselling author, but I don't really ever hear anyone talking about him. I love his books. I discovered his books when I was YA, and that's like the perfect time to discover his books because his books are definitely more YA, especially his earlier ones. I would not recommend his first two books. Those are, I can't remember what they're called right now. Shows how much they made an impression on me. Jeff Wheeler. So I would really recommend his Harbinger series. That's where I started. He has like 3 interconnected connected series that are in order. So there's like the first trilogy, second trilogy, and then the last series, which is 5 books. And actually the sequel series to that one is coming out this year. So there's gonna be 4 series kind of stacked on, actually, never mind, there's 5 series. There's another one that's earlier than the first series. So that's 5 series stacked on top of each other, and they're all trilogies, except for the Harbinger series, which is 5 books. And I love the Harbinger series. That's the first series I ever read by him. I fell in love with it. It's so good. One of my favorite things about Jeff Wheeler and his books is that he has romances in all of them, but they're not like stupid romances, where I've read a lot of books where I'm like, this is so dumb, you can tell a man wrote this, but his are really good. I really like his books. Genuinely, I've been rereading them, and his earlier ones are a little bit more YA, which is perfect. But I really love the way that he writes. His magic systems are really well conceived and thought out. His series do have some religious undertones in them, which a lot of people don't like, but I really love it. I think it works really well. It's a very good Christian author, so I really recommend Jeff Wheeler. I want more people to read his books. He has all of his books on Kindle Unlimited too, so if you want to just binge a series, he's right there. All right, the next one I've got is the Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan. A lot of people have heard of the Percy Jackson series. I don't think I really need to talk about this much. He does a really good job with Greek retellings, and he doesn't make them too weird. I remember reading some of his books when I was older and being like, oh my goodness, this entire series is based on infidelity because gods are terrible. But it's a really good series overall. I really love the first 2 series, so the Heroes of Olympus series and I can't remember what the second series is called, or the first. Anyway, I like those 2 series, and then I'm also reading the high school ones. Really good. I'm liking them a lot. I haven't read the Magnus Chase series. I've heard that the more newer his books are and the less Percy Jackson they are, the more likely they have gay stuff in them. So if that bothers you, there's that. Trials of Apollo, I've heard, does have more gay stuff in it. I haven't read it personally. I kind of want to. I haven't decided. Magnus Chase has a main character who is bi, but I really like his books. I haven't read all of them, so I can't tell you they're all clean, but none of them have swearing. They have a really good job of being really tame with gore, and they don't have like sex or anything in them. All right, Dan Wells. He is definitely like the edgiest author I think I've put on this list. His books are definitely horror, so if you don't like horror, don't even pick up any of his books. Like all of them, even the ones that aren't horror, have horror aspects to them, or they have some sort of like dark, scary, gritty element. I really like his books because he adds in some really interesting like philosophy and morality things in them that are just really interesting to think about. But his books do have some swearing in them. Not a lot, because they still are YA. There's like 1 or 2 swear words in them sometimes. They do have lots of gore and death and creepiness, but they don't have sex in them. He does have an adult book that has like some more edgy stuff in them, but his YA stuff is completely clean. His Zero G series, that one's completely clean. That one's only on Audible, I think. It's only an audio series. The I Am Not a Serial Killer series is definitely more like dark, gritty, disturbing. I really liked it, but I would say like if you can't make it through the first chapter of the first book, don't read the series. He does a really good job of putting like what is going to be the series at the beginning of each book. So each of the books in the series, he'll put like something really disturbing or really dark or something at the very beginning. So if you don't like that, don't keep reading. But I think they're really interesting. I think my favorite one is the Mirador series, which has like cyberpunk kind of sci-fi kind of a thing. I think it's brilliant. I want more people to read that series, so he continues writing it, because he says people don't really like it as much, but I liked it. It was so good. All right, the next one we have, I don't know why in the world I put this on fantasy, but I put the Warrior Cats books in here by Aaron Hunter. There are so many Warriors Cat series. When I was like, I think from 10 to maybe 13, I read a bunch of them. So these are kind of between the YA and the middle grade genre, but it's just a bunch of cats, and it's like a reality TV show with cats and, you know, wars and fighting and stuff like that. It is so hilarious to read. I reread the first series recently just because I was feeling really nostalgic, and I don't think I'm going to continue it, but I can see why people still read them to this day, because it's just so intriguing. And once you get like caught up in the lives of these stupid cats, you're just like, well, what's going to happen to them now? I need to know. Is that stupid kitten gonna try to drown himself again? I don't know. Let's find out. I recommend them. All of them have gore, violence. Some of them have like some more blood in them that I thought that they did. They do have some allusions to sexual activities, but they don't actually have sex scenes. And there's no swearing because it's cats. If you want to get lost in a fandom for like 75 years, there's like 14 different Warriors Cat series you could read. All right, I'm gonna go through these next ones a little bit quicker because they're not like authors that I'm talking about. So just kind of give you just like the series name name and then talk about them a little bit. If anyone's more interested in these books, you can always like look them up on Goodreads. I'm gonna put the full like list of all these books in the description if you just want to like look them up on Goodreads and add them to a list or something like that. I'm putting them all on the list with all the trigger warnings and stuff, so if you don't want to watch me blabber on, you can just read the list. I have the Books of Ember series by Jeanne Duproux. I don't know how to say that, it's French. That one's absolutely clean. It's a very fun mystery. I can't really tell you anything about it because it's a very interesting mystery, but that one has 4 books. Really love that. We have the Books of Emerelia series by Beth Brower. This one is more leaning to the top of YA and adult. That one does have some violence, some mentions of sex. It doesn't have any swearing in it. It's very clean, but it is more adult, like the themes that it talks about, but this is for like older YA, I'd say. We have the Beyonders series by Brandon Mull. Actually, a lot of Brandon Mull, you can read it from middle grade, but personally I feel like Beyonders is the most YA series that Brandon Mull's done. He's recently coming out with a book now, actually, that's like from middle grade to YA. I haven't read it yet. I know it's longer. I might read it, depends. I've definitely aged out of Brandon Mull, but the Beyonders series does have some violence, some body horror stuff to it. The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl duology by Shannon Hale. Actually, there's just a lot of Shannon Hale. Shannon Hale's pretty clean, but this one's a fantasy one. The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl is a Marvel series, so I think it's an actual Marvel character, and she has a license with Marvel, so it brings up like other Marvel, Spider-Man and Iron Man and the Hulk and stuff and Thor. It's pretty fun. I really like the first book. That one has some violence because it's like superhero. The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. This one is technically clean because there is no sex, but it does have a scene with a character who has some nudity. It's not described, but there's some nudity. There's death, child murder, gore. It's very, very dark. Oh, one book does have a swear word in it. It's just dark. Everyone's heard of the Hunger Games. I say it's really good for specifically older YA people to read. I think I read it for the first time when I was like 15 maybe. It's really good. It is harder to understand, but I think it is an important series to read. We have the Howl's Moving Castle series by Diane Wynne Jones. This is completely clean. I think there's 3 or 4 books. I like them all. We have The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. This one is definitely older YA to adult, but a lot of people tried to read The Lord of the Rings when they were in like middle school, including me. Didn't make it through them, but I have read them since. I really like Lord of the Rings. That one has violence because wars. We have the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. This one can be read honestly as young as 10. Like the youngest that a person could read is 10 because she started writing them for like a very young fan base and then wrote them as they grew up. So the oldest book is definitely YA and it goes through like elementary to middle. So I'd say you could read them between any of those ages. I've had like my young siblings that are like 10 read the whole series. I reread them from when I was like 10 until I was like 16. I haven't reread them since. I want to. I just read it too many times in a row. So Harry Potter has some violence, some death, fighting, some minor cuss words, and one very large one in the last book. We've got the Narnia series by C.S. Lewis. This one is like technically written for elementary, but I'd say you could read this from like elementary to adult. They're just so good. They hold up so well. That one's completely clean. We have the Three Doors trilogy by Emily Rada. That one is a really interesting fantasy mystery, so you're trying to figure something out. That one is completely clean. It has some violence in it. We have the Story Thieves series by James Riley. Actually, we have a lot of books by James Riley. I think all of his books are completely clean and most of them are YA. I think they go from like middle to YA. The Story Thief series is specifically fantasy, but I think there's also one called the Half Upon a Time series. That one's, I guess people put fairy tale in fantasy. I kind of put fairy tales by themselves, but anyway, the Half Upon a Time series is also pretty good. Also by James Riley. We have the Septimus Heap series by Angie Sage. This one's completely clean, but it does have some violence and some kind of dark imagery. Honestly, body horror. That one can get a bit darker. I wouldn't recommend that one for like younger YA, but definitely older YA. And then we have Ali Condé. All of her books are clean. She has a lot of books that kind of range from middle grade to adult. And so the YA ones that are fantasy are the Match series, The Last Voyage of Poe Blythe, and Atlantia. Ali Condé's really good. I haven't read her adult thrillers yet, but I'm assuming they're also clean. She has a couple other books that I haven't read. I want to go through and read her whole backlog, but I'd say she's a pretty safe author. All right, that's all the ones I have for fantasy so far. I bet there are more. I just don't remember them. I need to do a more comprehensive list at some point, but now we're on to general fiction. I have just like a bunch of random things on this series. I have like thrillers, I have mysteries, I have like classics. We've got the Trixie Belden series by Julie Campbell. This is my personal mystery, Girl Solves a Mystery series. I also read a lot of Nancy Drew. I read a lot of like like the younger Nancy Drew, which I think was like, I can't remember what that series was called, but it was like definitely for a younger audience of girls, and I read a lot of those when I was in elementary school. But Trixie Belden is very, very clean. That one kind of is from like middle grade to YA. It's a very, very old series. A lot of people know Nancy Drew, which those are also clean. But with any mystery series, there's going to be some mentions of violence, some kidnapping, some death, some bad things, because it makes an interesting mystery if you're talking about something bad. But the main characters are always fine. There's like 39 books in the series. We've got the Mysterious Benedict Society series by Trenton Lee Stewart. That one's really, really good. That one's completely clean. It has no nothing in it, and it has a really good like parental backup system for the main characters, and it just feels so wholesome, but it's also like high stakes still. I really, really recommend the Mysterious Benedict Society series. He also has another book called, I think, The Clockmaker's Son or something like that. That one's also really good. All right, we have Mr. Lemoncello's Library by Chris Grabstein. This one's also a series. I think I've read the first 2 books. I haven't read the other ones, but I really, really, really like the first book. It's a really fun mystery. I liked mysteries a lot when I was younger, and especially like solving, figuring things out books. We have Margaret Peterson Haddix. She has a ton of different books. I personally read, I'll put them up on the screen. I read like the Palace of Glass series, which I think the first book is just Ella. I've read these ones, I can't remember what they're called. Her books are all clean. They are mysteries, so they do involve some sort of like kind of dark element in them, like most mysteries do. The one that was super popular was like the Lost series or the Scent series, whichever, the Hidden. There we go, the Hidden series. I never read that one. I had friends tell me to read it, but I just like, I had grown out of it by then and I didn't care. But I do think that she's a really good author. We have Wendy Mass. My favorite book by her is The Candy Makers. There's a sequel, it's not as good. Her books are completely clean from what I've read. They're very interesting. I've read Jeremy Fink and the Meaning of Life, A Mango-Shaped Space. I haven't read any other ones. I think I would have read more if I knew where she was in the library when I was younger, but those are the ones I had access to. So we have Mark Twain. I know The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn are like his YA kind of middle grade books, but they aren't like classics, so they have some more like interesting stuff in them. So we have some violence, depictions of smoking and drinking underage. I'd say The Adventures of Tom Sawyer is definitely a boy book. I read it recently. I didn't love it because it's meant for like middle grade boys, but it was a good book. Then we have Carl Hyacin. Apparently he's written books for adult and middle grade and YA, but the ones that me and my family read was like the Chomp series. So you have Chomp, Scat, Flush, Squirm, and Hoot. I haven't read any of his other books, but those ones are clean. I think they have some, not swearing, but edgy language in them, and they definitely have some violence, but they're all like animal-based books. So it's like a main character who has to save some sort of endangered species. They're very fun. They have a very fun humor style to them too. All right, we have The Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon by Beth Brower. Her books are just golden. These books are completely clean. Well, the earliest books are. The later books kind of have a character who swears a little bit. Nothing big, but some swearing, and it does have some mentions of child abuse and stuff like that. So the early ones are completely clean. The later books aren't quite as much. I'd say they are still very good YA books. They definitely are meant for adults though. All right, now we have Ella Montgomery. She wrote Anne of Green Gables, which is what everyone knows, but I love all of her books. All of her books are so good and clean. Some of them are kind of dated with the times, but my favorite series are Anne of Green Gables. I love the Pat of Silver Bush series. I love the Emily of New Moon series. I think those are the only ones I own by her. I want to own more in all of them at some point. Her books are just, they're so good. They give this perfect feeling of springtime and fall and happiness and joy just encapsulated. They're just so good. I love Ella Montgomery. All right, we have the Doll People trilogy by Anne M. Martin. That one's completely clean. It's a very interesting kind of what if dolls are alive kind of a story, and it's very fun. It's like half illustrated and half written, and I'd honestly probably reread it now because I just remember loving it so much. All right, now we have Ben Behunin. I have read only the Remembering Isaac series by him. I think it's a trilogy, but he has a ton of other books that he's written so far. I think the last book in the Remembering Isaac trilogy has some swearing. I think there's also mentions of like infidelity, and there is some injury, so there's mentions of blood and stuff. Overall, it's a very good, it's mostly a Christian series. He's a Christian author, so all of his books have Christian themes in them, but I loved that series. It was so well written. I still remember thinking about it and thinking like, oh, how interesting, and I think about the ideas and the stories written all the time. It's a very good series. Roald Dahl. I have read a lot of his books. I haven't read all of his books. Apparently he's written so many other ones that I haven't read. The The ones I've read are Matilda, James and the Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The BFG, The Witches, The Twits, George's Marvelous Medicine. I think I've read maybe a couple other that I don't remember, but all of his books are clean and written for children. Some of his books are adult though, so I stick with like the children books. His books kind of go from elementary to middle grade, and you can also read them in YA. There's kind of like a wide range of people who would find it interesting. All right, we have The Wonder Books by R.J. Palacio. You've probably seen the cover. It's blue with the face. This was all over everywhere at one point. I think it was really big when I was in like grade school. I really love this book. It's so well written. I like the 3 novellas he has that are after. They add a lot of context to the story. I haven't read any other books by R.J. Palacio. I think there are more, but the Wonder Books are so good. All right, we have Ali Condi. I kind of told you about her before. All of her books are clean. The other ones that are more in general fiction rather than fantasy are the Yearbook series. Being 16, it's one of the best books to educate people on the dangers of eating disorders, but it's kind. It's not like fear-mongering. I love Being 16. We have Freshman for President and Summer Lost. All right, we have Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim by Robert C. O'Brien. This book's completely clean. It's a really cute book with talking mice and stuff. Not talking mice. You're in the mice's brain. We have the Hatchet series by Gary Paulson. This is definitely a boy series. I reread it recently and it's very interesting. I liked it a lot. It does have some mild swearing, definitely some violence, some gore. It's kind of like survival in the wild kind of a thing. We have the Smile graphic novels by Raina Telgemeier. These ones have some gore in them, and as they're graphic novels, you like see it. It's pretty mild, but I have an aversion to blood, so it always gets me every time. But I really like those books. They're very well written. They're autobiographical graphic novels. They're very popular. You've probably heard of them, but they're really good. I recommend them. Another author who's done autobiographical graphic novels is Shannon Hale, and she did the Real Friends series or the True Friends series. I like those ones too. They're very well written. Okay, now for their final section, the romance section. Diane Zoller. All of her books, they're fairy tale retellings. They're clean. All the ones that I've read are very good. There's one mention of like infidelity in the 13th Princess, but the rest of them are clean. So she has like A True Princess, Baker's Magic, Sleeping Beauty's Daughters, The 13th Princess, and Princess of the Wild Swan. I think there's a couple more that I haven't been able to get my hands on, like they're not available to me in my library, but I like a lot of her books that I read. The one that was like a little bit darker was Daughter of the White Rose. I read that one thinking that it was going to be a princess retelling, but no, it's a retelling of English history during the War of the Roses and like the children who got kidnapped and put in a tower, and she's like writing a book about what could have happened to these kids. And let me just say, I hate books talking about real life English kings and queens and monarchs and stuff. I think it is just so depressing and I hate it. So probably someone would have liked that book, not me, but I just let you know that it does have some violence and gore and death and stuff. It's definitely talking about real life kings and queens. Now we've got Nancy Campbell Allen. This one I think they're specifically adult romances, but you can read them when you're YA. All of her books that I read are clean, sweet romances. She kind of goes from, she has like a cyberpunk series that I enjoyed. She has some Regency romances. I haven't read any other ones. I think I've only read 3 of them, but I liked the ones that I read. Most of them were above 3 stars. Julie Wright is another author that all of her books that I've read are clean. Some of them are definitely more mature. The ones that I would say are good for YA are Lies Jane Austen Told Me, A Captain for Caroline Gray, An Inconvenient Letter, Glass Slippers, Ever After and Me, Windsong Manor, Swimming in a Sea of Stars. That one specifically YA. I really liked that one. The Art of Us, also YA, and really liked that one. Eyes Like Mine, and Lies, Love, and Breakfast at Tiffany's. Those are all really good YA ones. They're ones I'd give to my sister. The rest of them are much more adult books, or are ones that I haven't gotten my hands on yet. All right, we have the Keeping the Castle duology by Patrice Kindle. This series is completely clean. It was really cute. It was a fun, like, Regency-esque fantasy kind of romance. We have the Ella series by Jesslyn Stewart Peasley. She's written a couple other books that I haven't been able to get my hands on because they're not at my local library and I can't find them and I don't have the money to buy books. But I love the books that I have read by her. The Ella series is like one of my favorite Cinderella retellings in the entire world. It has Ella, Ella's Will, and Always Ella. So good. Recommend all of them. She also has Finding Beauty and the Beast, which is like a spin-off book in the same world. All right, now my standout favorite YA author of clean romances is Casey West. All of her books that I've all of her books that I have read are completely clean. There's no swearing, there's no sex, there's no nothing. The ones in the clean romances that like talk about the main characters doing sex and they have swearing, but they don't technically have sex, so they're technically clean. Like these books, Don't recommend those ones, but I do definitely recommend Casey West. She has like a huge backlog of YA romances. She has recently started writing adult romances, so don't pick up these ones or ones that have like this kind of a cover. Those ones are not clean. They have swearing and sex, but all the rest of them are completely clean. My favorite one is Maybe This Time. I'll put a full list of all her books in the description, like everything else that's gonna be in the description. I love all of her books. They're very good. Another very clean author that can be read in YA, but it's definitely like adult central is Sarah M. Eden. I love her books. Most of her books are Regency romances, but she's also like branched out. She has like kind of a fantasy series now, which is The Tides of Time. She has some Western series. She has Longing for Home and like The Sheriffs of Savage Wells. I love her books. There's never anything bad in them. They're my favorite Regency romances I've ever read. We also have Gail Carson Levine. She has, I guess they're technically elementary books, but she wrote Ella Enchanted. All of her books that I've read, I've enjoyed. I don't like her sequels to her most popular books, so she wrote Ogre Enchanted. Didn't really love that one. Other people liked it, but I didn't really love it. My favorite books by her are Ella Enchanted, obviously, The Two Princesses of Bamar, Fairest Ever, the Princess Tales series, and the Disney Fairies trilogy. I didn't read the Disney Fairies trilogy until I think last year around this time, and I fell in love with it. It is perfect. It is my favorite depiction of the Disney fairies in writing that I've ever read. All right, now we have Kiara Cass. All of her books are clean, as in they don't have sex, but some of them do mention sex. Some of them have like making out and stuff. Some of them have like gore and violence, but they're all clean. My favorite book is 1,000 Heartbeats. This one isn't super popular, but it just has the most gorgeous cover in the world. It got me out of a book slump a couple years ago. Her most popular series is the Selection series, but the rest of her books are clean, like The Siren and The Betrothed. All right, we have Samantha Hastings. I have read, I think, 4 of her books at this point. Her older books aren't written as well as her newer ones, but I did really like her 2 newest books, which are By Any Other Name and Secret of the Sonnets. These are clean YA romances. I think her earlier book, not YA, they're clean Regency, technically more adult romances. I think all of her books are clean, where they don't have like sex or swearing in them, but her later books are more well written. And then we have Shannon Hale, which I think I've brought her up a couple times now, but all of her books are clean. The other ones that I haven't mentioned are the Goose Girl series, the Princess Academy series. We have A Book of 1,000 Days, the Ever After High series, which I personally haven't read. I think if I'd started reading them when I was like middle grade YA, I would have liked them, but I've heard they're good. She also has the Rapunzel's Revenge series and Kind of a Big Deal. Kind of a Big Deal is interesting. I'd say that one's like on the edge of being YA and on the edge of being adult. It's kind of in this weird middle area. It was a really bizarre read. It was clean, but it was really bizarre. All right, now we have Jean Stratton Porter. I think I'm gonna talk about a couple classics in a row here. So we have Jean Stratton Porter. She wrote Freckles and A Girl of the Limberlost. I really liked these 2 books when I was YA. Upon rereading A Girl of the Limberlost, I realized that the heroine is kind of annoying, but it was really good to read when I was younger. I also really like maybe one other book by her, but those books I've read were just interesting, strange books. But she's definitely clean. We have Jane Austen. Those are, you can read them from young to old. Everyone knows Jane Austen. We have Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Emma, Persuasion, Northanger Abbey. There's one more. We have Heather Dixon. She has written quite a few books. No, actually, she's only written 3. I take that back. She wrote Entwined, which is the only one I was able to get my hands on when I was younger, other than Illusionarium. Entwined is a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, and I loved this book. I think it's still, if not my favorite, one of my favorite 12 Dancing Princess retellings. I really, really enjoyed it. She also wrote Illusionarium, which I also enjoyed. That one's definitely more interesting. It's got some like body horror stuff to it. Then she also wrote The Midnight Sonata, which was very good. That's a retelling of, what is it called? It's also a Barbie movie. The Nutcracker. There we go. All right, we also have Louisa May Alcott. She wrote Little Women, which everyone knows, but I love her books. She's also written, I think, a sequel to Little Women called Little Men, and then 2 other sequels, which I have read at some point, and I can't remember their names. I think we have Little Men, Joe's Boys, and Good Wives. Those are all very good. I love them. She also wrote quite a lot of other books, which I have read at some point, and I can't remember their names right now. Juliette Marillier, which I have only read 3 of her books, and I really loved, fell in love with 2 of them. I need to read more of her books. I just read one and I didn't fall in love with it and I just like stopped reading her backlog. Wildwood Dancing and Cybele's Secret, so good. They're like some of my newest favorite retellings of stories, like fairy tales. We have Robin McKinley. She has a couple clean books and a couple not so clean books. I will put in the description the ones that are clean because I don't have them written down right now, but I love Beauty by Robin McKinley. That's my favorite Beauty and the Beast retelling. We have Charlie Ann Holmberg. I haven't read all of her books yet. I read the Paper Magician series by her and I really liked that one, and then I also read the series, I can't remember what it's called. They all have like a mystery element to them, so they have some sort of violence or gore or something in them, but they're very good. Elizabeth Gaskell. I have read I think 2 of her books so far and I want to read more because I love them, but these are more they're kind of like Jane Austen-esque books, and Wives and Daughters is my favorite one. Fair warning, she died before she finished that book, and so there is no ending, and that hurts me inside every time I think about it, but it's still one of my favorite books in the entire world. She also wrote North and South, which is a very interesting book, and I think the first time I read it, I didn't read the full book. I think it was abridged. On rereading it, wasn't abridged, and so it had a lot of philosophy and stuff in it, which is really interesting. We have Jeanette Rallison. My favorite series by her is the My Fair Godmother series. So funny, so good. She's written quite a lot of other books. I've read a few of them. I think they're all clean. Some of them weren't my genre or style when I was probably in the age to read them, but I have liked the ones by her that I've read. We also have Jessica Day George. All of her books are completely clean and good. We have the Tuesdays in the Tower series. I think it's called the Castle Glower series. We also have Princess of the Midnight Ball. I love that series. There's 3 of them. Princess of Glass is another one of my favorite Cinderella retellings. If you can't tell, I just really like Cinderella retellings. But Jessica Day George, all of her books are completely clean. I love her books. Is this really the last one that I have? Okay, last book that I have is Up a Road Slowly by Irene Hunt. I haven't read any other books by her, but I loved this book. It was, if not my favorite coming to age story, one of my favorite coming to age stories. All right, those are all the books I have written down right now. I could probably go through and do a sequel with more YA books, but I'm definitely going to go through and do specifically middle grade, and I don't have a lot for adult, but as I keep collecting more, I'll make a video on adult. And I also have some for elementary, which I need to go through and find all the books that I read in elementary and the ones that my siblings like and make a whole list of that. But I had the YA one pretty well mapped out, so I wanted to talk about that one first. But I hope you found a recommendation that sounds interesting. If you want more info on any of these books, just like message me in the comments. Oh, also, if you have books that you've been wanting to read but you don't know if they're clean, or you've heard that they're good but you don't want to read them because you're worried, don't worry, I got you. I'm an adult. I can read things and not be scarred for life. So if you have a series you want to read and you want me to tell you if there's anything in it you don't want to read, let me know and I'll try to get around to you or ask if my sister's read it or something like that. So I hope something was helpful. If not, I'm sorry. I do have other books. You can also look at my Goodreads or any of my past wrap-ups. I tell in there if the book that I've read has any swearing or anything in it. So you can read my watch my other wrap-ups, and you should find something in there that sounds interesting. But anyway, I will see you in the next video. I don't know if it's gonna be another one like this, but there should be another video soon. I will see you in the next one, which should be sometime for sure. Goodbye. Mwah!